go for it. Go for it. Go for it. That's what I was asking. I was like, do I get one they speak or do they?
Everybody, welcome to today's hybrid New York City Council meeting of the Committees on Immigration and Youth Services. At this time, please silence all electronic devices. If you wish to submit testimony, you may send it to testimony@council.nyc.gov. Again, that's testimony@council.nyc.gov. Thank you for your cooperation. Chairs, we are ready to begin.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Councilmember Shahana Hanif, Chair of the Immigration Committee. I'm joined today by Councilmember Althea Stevens, Chair of the Youth Services Committee, for our joint oversight hearing on adult literacy programming and resources. I want to thank my council colleagues, representatives from the administration and public for being here, and to members of the public for participating remotely. In New York City, about 1.6 million adult residents lack English proficiency. The need is greatest in Queens, the Bronx, and Brooklyn, where a large portion of the population is not English proficient. Adult literacy programming is essential for immigrant New Yorkers. It equips them with the necessary skills to navigate our healthcare system, support their children's education, access good-paying jobs, and participate in our democratic institutions. However, there is an enormous gap in adult literacy services in our city. Less than 4% of New Yorkers have access to adult literacy classes each year. Equally concerning, city-funded programs generally receive less than $1,000 per student, according to the New York City Coalition for Adult Literacy, which falls short of the amount needed to provide high-quality adult literacy programming. Despite the lack of funding, these programs continue to be a lifeline for immigrant New Yorkers, especially at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. These programs quickly adjusted during the lockdown by moving in-person classes online. This move created opportunities to make adult literacy classes more accessible. And we should continue down that path of providing online and in-person classes, especially at a time when literacy skills are in high demand. I'm looking forward to having a constructive conversation with the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, the Department of Youth and Community Development, program providers and participants about ways to expand program access, create a pipeline for immigrants to become instructors, and pathways to post-secondary education. I want to thank the committee staff for their time and work on this issue, including Jayashree Ganapathy, Committee Counsel, Kishorn Denny, Senior Policy Analyst, and Jean Florentine Cabore, Finance Analyst. I'd also like to thank my staff, Chief of Staff Nora Brickner, Legislative Director Alex Liao, and everyone working in the background to make this hybrid hearing run smoothly. Now I will turn it over to Chair Althea Stevens to give opening remarks.
Good afternoon. I am Althea Stevens, Chair of New York City Council Committee on Youth Services. I want to begin by thanking my co-chair, Councilmember Shahana Hanif, for spearheading today's hearing on an often overlooked area of DYCD's programming in adult literacy. DYCD is known for its youth center programs such as SYEP, Beacons, or Compass, but the department is mandated to alleviate poverty and provide opportunities for all New Yorkers to reach their full potential. Adult literacy programs are a critical part of this mission. DYCD administers dozens of contracts for adult programming and services related to reading, writing, and general education, and English language instructions. Through those programs, adult learners can often obtain basic education instructions in reading, writing, and math, and work towards a high school equivalency diploma. Students are able to acquire the skills they need to continue their education or obtain a job. As important as this program is, I'm interested in making sure that DYCD does more than just meet New Yorkers' most basic needs. At this hearing, I look forward to learning more about the quality of adult literacy curriculum and how such programs have adapted to provide the necessary skills in an increased competitive market. We must do more than just give adult learners the means to survive. They deserve to thrive. I want to thank the staff behind the scenes making sure this hearing runs smoothly. I would like to thank the Youth Committee staff for working on this committee issue. Committee Counsel Amy Briggs, Committee Policy Analyst Anastasia Zumna, and Financial Unit Head Ali. And a big and thanks goes out to my Chief of slash Legislative Director Kate Connolly and the whole A team back at the district office. Thank you. I would also like to acknowledge all the staff, council members who are here today. We have Council Member Shekhar, what's your last name? Krishnan, sorry. Councilmember, I'm sorry, I didn't know your last name. Councilmember Rita Joseph, Councilmember Christine Richard Jordison, and Councilmember Sandra Ung. And Councilmember Parina Sanchez, who's here virtually.
Thank you so much. We will begin with public testimony. You each have 2 minutes. I want to first call on Felicienne Zita, who is on with us virtually.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm Felicienne. I'm from Burkina Faso. It is in West Africa. And since February, I have been part of the YWCA program, Brooklyn. And I found the program beneficial to me. And because it helped me to empower myself. And I want to thank my amazing professor, Mrs. Laura and Miss Lauren, for their creativity and their dedication. In fact, the diversity of the activities and the evaluation, such as the weekly advisory, the evaluation, and some in-person classes, was very useful to me, because they allowed me to improve my English, speaking more fluently, understanding better my readings, and writing better, and also to find all the resources I need to empower myself. And I feel that I am more involved in my new homeland. I also enjoyed and learned through our field trip, like visiting some museum, having some courses in the park. And right now I'm almost, I'm going to reach one of my important goals. I'm taking some courses at Lehman College, and I would like to be an accountant. So I understand the courses, and I feel that I will reach my goal.
Third.
And it is not only for me. All the women in our program are becoming more confident in speaking English and in reaching their goals. So it is what I want. I have to say, I have to share with you, and I am very determined to continue learning with my awesome teacher, that because they are giving us a lot of motivation to learn, the taste to speak English, and to understand the American culture. Because when you are learning a language, it is a way to understand the culture, the way that people are talking, and therefore to be prepared to work, to have a great work, and to be independent. So I'm very grateful for all these persons who are giving their time, the money, to help us to learn English and to empower ourselves, our immigrants and our women. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your testimony. We'll now move to Sierra Stoneman Bell.
Starting time.
You're muted. You should be
Okay,
going
here we
now.
go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chair Hanif and Chair Stevens, for your leadership and support for adult education. I'm Sierra Stoneman Bell with the Literacy Assistance Center and the New York City Coalition for Adult Literacy. Today, I will focus on the $2.5 million adult literacy pilot project created by the City Council last year and renewed for fiscal year 23. Thank you for supporting this groundbreaking initiative. This pilot has supported 19 adult literacy programs to strengthen their services for adults studying English, basic education, and high school equivalency. Literacy programs have been inadequately funded for too long. DYCD contracts pay at most $950 per student per year when the average real cost is at least 4 times that. This pilot allowed programs to invest new funds to expand services for over 4,000 students and achieve greater outcomes in educational development, digital literacy, work readiness, social services, immigrant and workers' rights, and civic engagement. You'll hear more from programs today. I will share just a few trends. Programs invested in their staff, adding hours, pay, and new team members. They expanded academic support for students and saw learning gains. They connected students with training and jobs. Expanded social services enabled students to continue their education while juggling multiple challenges. Programs updated digital infrastructure and built new capacity for digital literacy instruction. For some, this was the first investment in their classrooms in a decade, and the improvements had immediate impact for students. Programs created culturally responsive curricula. Students gained knowledge of immigrant and workers' rights and civic knowledge related to voting, citizenship, public schools, and tax filing. We look forward to working with DYCD and the Council to apply what we've learned to the new city funding and the next RFP. 1, fund enhancements for greater impact. Ensure that the added $6.7 million for adult literacy in fiscal year 23 be used to support program enhancements like those supported by the pilot. 2, increase the funding rate to at least $1,900 per student in the next RFP. And 3, allow programs to offer in-person, remote, and hybrid instruction. Thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And now we'll move on to Farajan Saeed.
Hi, my name is Farzan Saeed, but my friends call me Jyoti. I live in the neighborhood of Kensington in Brooklyn. You may not know much about my neighborhood. However, it's a very beautiful community. I am proud to be a member of this community, and I am proud of both where I come from and where I live. One thing about my community is that we stick close together. We are part of a culture that has specific customs. When it comes to bring adult literacy to our community, it must be very careful and thoughtful. If you just start an English class without first involving community members, you may not likely to be very successful. Because of the adult literacy pilot project, member of the Fifth Avenue community through council member Shahana Hanif office reach out to us in the community to involve us in the planning and development of an adult literacy and digital skill program. Catherine, Eric, Brian, Angie have taken the time and made the effort to understand the needs of the community and involve me, along with the other community member, including the Bangladeshi Ladies Club and gather important information toward building a curriculum and schedule the program that affect that involvement. They were able to do this because of the resource provided through the pilot project. If sometimes is going to work in the community, it needs to be well through out of the based on the real knowledge of the community. Because of your support, both FSC and the community member of Kensington have a really changed at the building something that will be meaningful and will last. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, first, I'd just like to give a shout out to Jyoti, who I didn't know was going to testify, but is a true testament to what I've been pushing for many years. And thanks to the partnership with the Fifth Avenue Committee, one of my biggest asks to them was not to outsource an instructor for these dollars from outside of our community, outside of where the course was going to be offered, which is in Kensington, predominantly Bangladeshi working class community in my district. And so for them to have done the work to recruit Jyoti and to involve the Bangladeshi Ladies Club, this is very exciting, and I'm looking forward to getting into questions that have to do with our approach to how we build a pipeline for instructors like Jyoti who speak the language of the community and have a grip on English as well to be able to provide adequate lessons and to support the curriculum building with the partner organization. I do have a question. Got it. Before I go into one question that I have, I'd like to acknowledge my colleagues, Kevin Riley, Natasha Williams, and Carmen De La Rosa. Thank you for joining us. To Felicienne Zita, could you share where you are participating in the adult literacy program? Where and through which partner organization, if you're still on the call?
Yes. I took the classes and I participated to the Brooklyn Women program.
It's called the Brooklyn Women's Program?
Yes, the YWCA.
YWCI. Okay, thank you.
Yes. And I don't have a lot of time here in the United States. I just came here a few months before the pandemic. So I have 3 years in the United States. Maybe it is why my English is a little bit.
Well, we really appreciate.
Yes.
We really appreciate your testimony and just the journey you've shared with us in your words. And I'm really looking forward to reaching out to YWCI to just learn more about their work and the other women who've received these courses. So thank you so much. I'd now like to turn it over to the admin for their testimony.
Are you referring to the admin from the YWCA Brooklyn?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. We've got to swear in the admin first before we go into your testimonies.
I will now administer the oath. Can you all please raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this committee, and to answer all council member questions honestly? Thank you. We can start with DYCD.
Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Chair Stevens and Harnif and members of the Youth Services and Immigration Committees. I'm Associate Commissioner Rong Zan for Community Development Programs at the Department of Youth and Community Development. On behalf of Commissioner Keith Howard, thank you for the opportunity to comment on DYCD's adult literacy services. We are pleased to be joined by the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs Deputy Commissioners Salmon and Munoz. Along with us today are Karima Hossein, Program Director, and Project Coordinator Alejandra Circus of We Speak NYC. The ability to read and write is fundamental to a person's capacity to succeed in life. English proficiency is associated with the ability to find and keep employment that pays a living wage and provides opportunities for upward advancement, helps parents fully support and participate in their children's education, and to actively engage in civic life. Recent census data for New York City show that there are 1.76 million, or 22.4% of the individuals aged 5 years and over, who speak English less than very well. And 544,714, or 9.1% of persons aged 25 years and over, who have less than a 9th grade education. These data point toward a high need for ESOL instruction and adult basic education classes. In neighborhoods with large low-income immigrant populations, the need is particularly high. These findings are also supported by DYCD's Comprehensive Community Needs Assessment Survey, a survey that collected information from residents who were asked, among other questions, to identify the service gaps in their community. In New York City overall, survey respondents ranked English classes as the #2 service gap from a listing of 28 items. In 10 communities, residents ranked English classes as their #1 service gap. 6 communities ranked adult education literacy instruction as among their top 5 service gaps. We thank the Council for its strong and long-standing partnership on adult literacy programs. It has been critical to funding programs across the city. In fiscal 2023, DYCD has $25.29 million to support adult literacy programs from a mix of Federal Community Services Block Grant, CSBG, and the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG funding, and the city tax levy funding. This work is complemented by other literacy programs supported by the Department of Education, the City University of New York, and the public library systems. DYCD's adult literacy programs include a variety of courses to meet the various needs of participants. For example, these adult literacy programs offer adult basic education, known as ABE, that teaches both native and non-native English speakers reading, writing, and math. We offer classes to prepare students for the GED exam, as well as ESL civics classes, English for speakers of other languages that teach listening, speaking, reading, and writing to individuals whose primary language is not English. In fiscal 2022, the current fiscal year, our adult literacy programs are projected to enroll 16,062 participants. Students not only benefit academically by participating in our literacy programs, they also receive other much-needed assistance, such as referral to employment training, college assistance, and individual support. We are grateful that the city has made additional investments to support adult literacy services through adult literacy expansion funds in the last few years. The expansion funds have allowed literacy programs to enhance programming and increase enrollment. Providers have accumulatively served approximately 50,000 more New Yorkers through expansion. In addition, we invested in expanded professional development, in curriculum development, purchase and test materials for providers, and strengthening digital literacy, including 2 online software programs which provide anytime, anywhere access to state-of-the-art interactive courses that feature basic English, reading, writing, math, civics, and career exploration. Again, here I wanted to thank the Council for the support and for advocating for literacy services. We also partner with Moyer to promote We Speak NYC, a video series produced by Moyer and CUNY to help English language learners to improve their language skills while learning about city services and their rights. Moyer staff presented We Speak NYC to literacy providers. A joint professional training session on best practices around integration of the video into English language classes has been offered to providers. This year, we also launched 2 pilots to strengthen and enhance adult literacy services. The first pilot added counselors to assist participants in identifying and overcoming class attendance barriers, accessing support resources, and make referrals. Policy Studies Associates, PSA, is conducting an evaluation of the pilot, which we anticipate to release a report in early fall. Early feedback from our providers indicates that the counselor position has been extremely helpful in better serving participants in advancing their goals. The second pilot, funded by the council, is to evaluate the impact of program enhancements through investing in higher price per participant. The pilot has allowed funded programs to invest in a range of areas such as staff capacity, technology, support services, expanded learning options, and professional development. As you know, the Literacy Assistance Center is funded to provide support to the 19 funded programs. They are also responsible for collecting program data, and they will submit a final report on the pilot. According to the LAC's preliminary report, programs are actually achieving results, including increased daily attendance and retention and literacy level gains. We look forward to sharing the results of the evaluations with the council, which will be helpful in helping shape the next request for proposals for adult literacy services. Once again, thank you for holding this hearing today. We look forward to continuing to work with the City Council on promoting adult literacy. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Associate Commissioner Rong. I'd like to start off with some questions about the funding. So since the preliminary budget hearing, the council's been trying to figure out DYCD adult literacy funding. I hope you're prepared to provide some clarification on program budget. Could you share what the total funding is in the following fiscal years? Fiscal year 21 actuals, 22 adopted, 23 prelim, 23 executive, and 23 adopted.
Let's see. For FY23, as we know right now, we have 25,285,757 to be exact.
That's the adopted?
To support adult literacy services. These include the CTL funds, the federal funds, the CSBG, the CDBG, and the funds from the Council for the Council Adult Literacy Initiatives, including the $2.5 million for the pilot.
Got it. And then are you able to provide the numbers for the other years, including 23 prelim and executive?
That we'll need to get back to you with our fiscal.
Okay, so we can follow up about
Yes.
that. And then does the 23 adopted budget funding include the additional 6.7 million?
I think so.
Are you able to get us a confirmation?
Sure.
And then how much of the funding in the adopted budget has been baselined for adult literacy education in fiscal year 22, 23, excluding the council discretionary funding of $8 million?
Well, our baseline funding for base contracts is about $6 million, and then in fiscal 22, the adult literacy expansion funds was baseline for FY22. That was $8 million, and then there was a peg of $1.7 million from that, and I understand that that will be restored for FY23.
So just to clarify, in 2020 it was 6 million baselined.
We always have
Always
6 million.
baseline
Yeah.
6 million.
Yeah.
And then the PEG of 1.7
Will
23 will be restored.
will be restored, as I understand. Yeah.
And then what are the different sources of the FY22 baseline funding? And then how much did each funding source provide?
We have CTL is $2.5 million baseline, the baseline. Then
Is
we
it CTO?
have city tax levy money, right?
CTO.
And then the CDBG, a little over $1.5 million.
Could you just not use the acronyms just because I've got colleagues, we've got some people
Sure,
listening.
sure. Okay.
Everybody's in the
City
know
tax
here.
levy money, $2.5 million. Community services block grant is $500,000, and community development block grant, which is known as the DBG, a little over $1.5 million. And then we have, again, city tax levy to support the ESL civics program. That's a little over $1 million. So if add all this together, it's $6 million. Then in FY22, the current fiscal year, the previous adult literacy expansion money was baseline for $8 million.
Thank you. And then how many students has this baseline funding served in FY22 separate from any non-baseline funding such as council discretionary funding?
Okay, so the 6 million basically serves around 5,500 people. And then there was the expansion money from the baseline, served an additional about 4,500 people under that. So yeah, so that it's the base plus the expansion, the 5,500 plus about 4,500.
So nearly 10,000 people
Yeah, and that's in addition to the council initiatives.
in an initiative, okay. So the expansion money you're referring to is the council discretionary, or is that?
Well, the expansion, there are two parts. One is under the administration, we expanded our existing literacy contracts and amended all those contracts. We were able to serve an additional, I think it's about 4,500 to 5,000 people there. And then under the term expansion, we categorize the council initiatives, the $4 million under that. That's an additional, I think, about 4,000 people. I didn't include just now.
Got it. And what's the anticipated number of students in FY23?
Say it again?
What's the anticipated number of participants for FY23?
FY23, we haven't done the numbers yet, and we're still finalizing the dollars, and then also there are other pending initiatives like whether to continue the pilot and everything. So waiting for the results, and once we have the numbers, we'll share.
How soon might you have these numbers?
Well, as I just said, the evaluation of the pilots will be over the end of this month, and then there will be a report. Probably in early fall, we'll have reports. I think we probably will be able to share numbers in late July, August, somewhere there.
Great.
Yeah.
And then will the additional funding of 6.7 million be used to increase the number of seats?
Yeah, that's the new money. So we're looking at that. And we'll work with fiscal and OMB, and once we have a plan, we'll share.
Great. And then some future thinking. How much funding does DYCD anticipate for adult literacy education in FY24 and the subsequent out years?
So right now for 23, I know there is 25 million and change, right?
Yeah.
And it's my hope that that will continue and we can get more to support the services.
When you say more, how much is that?
You know, as you know, you stated in your statement and in our testimony, you know, that the needs for adult literacy for English language services is huge in the city. You know, you can ask for the sky and to serve the programs.
So what's the sky number?
You know, at one point, I you know, without looking at the numbers, I really can't be very specific. But at one point, I remember a few years ago, prior to the pandemic, we looked at and we were looking at asking money for support adult literacy services. I remember we were talking about $50 million.
Got it. That's good to know. And then how much of the baseline funding is directly allocated to providers and how much is it for the agency services?
Oh, almost all the money go to the contracts.
So all the money goes to contracts?
Almost all of them go to contracts. I don't have the exact
breakdown,
number, but yeah, these funds, go to providers through contracts. There are probably, DYCD administration, but I have no numbers for that.
We can circle back about this.
Sure.
And then is there a reduction in if there's a reduction in funding from FY23 to 24 or in the subsequent out years, what contingency plan does DYCD and the admin have to ensure that adult literacy programs do not need to cut staffing, services, and supports for students?
Well, first of all, we hope that there is not going to be a reduction to the very important essential services, for adult education, adult literacy. The good thing is that, we have various funding sources to support the initiative, right? You have city tax levy, you have federal dollars, so that's a good thing. So I don't anticipate, a reduction from all funding sources at the same time.
So you're optimistic, and therefore there are no contingency plans in place at this time?
Well, whenever, there is, when we see there is a reduction coming, and we always, come up with plans to, make sure there is continued services. We had experiences from before, and we will work with the council to make sure that services will continue.
Understood. And then what are the adult literacy programs that target the immigrant population? Could you share more about them?
What programs target?
Yeah, specifically.
Well, to be specific, all the English language programs, the ESOL programs, target immigrants, new immigrants, and our ESL civics program targets immigrants. And these programs, make up close to probably 70 to 75% of our whole portfolio. And in fact, all adult literacy programs include the ABE, the HSE program to serve immigrants too, because immigrants in the ESL programs, they move up, they graduate, the pathway is naturally to the ABE, HSE programs for further reading and writing and prepare for GED, high school diploma, and all that. So you will see immigrant population in the traditionally ABE and GED programs meant for native speakers.
Great, thank you. We can talk about more of those programs in a bit. I'd like to now pass it to my colleague. And I'd like to acknowledge that Councilmember Moya has joined us. Is there anybody else who came in? No. I'd like to pass it along to Councilmember Stevens.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your testimony and thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
The council strongly believes that any additional baseline or enhancement funding should be used to provide additional slots, services, support, and resources to the same number of students served in FY22, and to at least double the per student funding rate in the next RFP to ensure that the high levels of student support and services in the years to come. What is the administration / DYCD's plan to maximize the increase the baseline funding that will be included in the next DYCD adult literacy RFP?
Well, we've been working hard on the concept paper and then RFP, engaging stakeholders, including providers, program participants, experts in the field. So we've been doing a lot of prep work. The current baseline funding, including the $8 million, that we are looking at, is going into the RFP. Yes, we are very serious about looking at, increased per participant cost, but I don't have the numbers right now because we have to look at the options, right? The availability of the funding, how we're increase the quality of the program. You have to balance with the number of people to be served. So, and we're going to look at all this, and once the concept paper is ready, we'll share with you.
Yes, I'm very happy to hear that there will be a concept paper. Do you know when that'll be available?
I think they will be available very soon. Yeah.
No date, no.
I don't have a date.
Commit?
Probably, I would say late July.
Late July, great.
Or August, something like that.
Sometime in the summer.
Yeah.
All right, some summer reading for the beach.
I can check with our, contracting office.
Okay, great. That'll be great. What is the proposed funding amount for that, for the RFP? Do you have?
So right now, so we have the 6 million, the 8 million. I think it's around 14, 15 million, somewhere there. And now this new money, the 6.7, this one I'm not sure yet. We have to, find out. I think this is 1 year, year to year is a 1 year money, but we'll have to take a look at that.
Okay, great. Will DYCD commit to using all additional baseline / enhancement funds in FY23 to provide DYCD contracted adult literacy programs with increased funding for additional services, support, and resources for the same number of students served in FY22, consistent with the model and approach of the City Council's adult literacy pilot program?
So let me just understand this. Are you saying that to support the programs like the programs under the pilot program?
Yeah, how that just enhanced the programs that are already happening.
I mean, supporting the programs, maintain the enrollment numbers is extremely important to us, right? So you have huge needs out there. You need to maintain the numbers. In the meantime, we all understand that the wraparound support service is extremely important in terms of helping students stay in the program and attend programs regularly and do not make premature decisions to drop out of the program. So that's very important, and we are doing our best. That's why we're engaging stakeholders, we engaging providers and participants to look at all aspects of the program, how we can ensure quality instructional services, but also make sure that we have enough of a support for our programs. So one example is, having a counselor, within the literacy program, and we never really had a dedicated counselor in our programs, and we are trying to do that, and we are going to make sure that to propose for at least a counselor in a contract.
Yeah, no, and I agree, and I think having a counselor is amazing, but I think we also need to start thinking about program in a holistic way, and so only way we can do that is like not always saying quantity over quality, and making sure that we are preserving quality. And when we just say that we need to have a lot of numbers because there's a great need, services and things start to get watered down. And so I think, especially at DYCD, their job should be to focus on quality, and then quantity, have us focus on that, because then we need to find the money. So I think that we need to really be.
You know, and I'm in total agreement, yes.
I hate y'all. So that's just where I stand on programming in general.
Thank you.
Where was I? Oh, will DYCD commit to to doubling the per student rate to a minimum of $1,900 per student in the forthcoming adult literacy RFP?
Well, I mean, our current rate, as you know, is around $950, right? As I said earlier, then we're seriously taking a look at that. You probably know DYCD actually supported the LAC's research and generating that report, which basically outlined areas that you need, to enhance and support in order to have quality programs, which means higher per participant cost. We are certainly supportive of a quality program, that will be good for student retention or good for student, being able to stay long enough to achieve their learning goals. But there is also the realistic side, right? We have to look at what we have. As I said earlier, we will certainly look at quality of the instruction. We'll certainly look at, support programs with a counselor, and other, support services in terms of helping to programs to refer students out there for, for necessary services and all that. At this point, the funding has not been really finalized yet, and we're still looking at that, and we're still looking at how we're gonna fashion that RFP. And so once the concept paper is out, so we'll pretty much have an idea as to, the program model and the properties and cost, and that time you will know. So at this point, I don't have a specific number yet.
Can you talk about the timeline for when the RFP is going to come out? Is it going to come out this year? And give us a little more detail about.
Yes, we're looking at a set of new programs starting July 1, 2023. So which means we have to, get the concept paper out, get the RFP out this fall, and we're going to try our best. But I don't, we will work with our procurement office to have an exact timeline. But definitely we're working very hard to ensure that there is no gap of services. We'll start programs in July 1.
So we don't have like a timeline. So I know the concept paper you're saying will be out hopefully before the start of fall, and we're thinking that the RFP.
Following that, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
And can you talk about a little bit, what does the engagement look like of providers with the concept paper? Because I often hear that we're engaging folks, and when I talk to providers, I get a very different story because I do talk to providers. So please talk to me about what that engagement looks like.
Well, DYCD has a department, as program planning and integration, and they write, RFPs. And I know that, we always have focus groups of providers and students to talk about the current program model, what they think works, what they think needs improvement. They talk about, schedules, staffing, content, support services. So there are a lot of things that get, according to protocol, we are not usually involved in this process, just to allow providers to talk freely about the programs, right? So I'm not part of that process.
Our providers chosen.
Well, I actually usually they come to us, they get a list of our providers, and they will notify providers exactly how I think they actually send it out to all providers, and it's up to them to sign up for this. And this time, I think DYCD went out of its way, did a lot more engagement work. We actually hired a vendor to help reach out to all the providers, to do surveys, focus groups, conversations with a lot of participants and providers that are not currently under DYCD RF contracts, and experts, in the city, in the state, in the country. So they have engaged a lot of people. And I remember giving them names that I know of, so for them to reach out to people. So it's very extensive. I think they might even have a report on that, and we can.
Please forward me the report, because when I've spoken to providers, I get a very different picture of what that looks like. I often heard that it's the same few providers that are seeked and who are part of these focus groups, and so that worries me in that bit. So I would love to, if you, after the hearing, be able to send over what that looks like in that protocol, and how providers are reached, and how their concerns or issues are being heard during these focus groups, and even participants. It'll be really helpful for me, because I'm hearing some discrepancies. But we do have, I know both myself and Councilmember Shahana have a few more questions, but we do want to make some space for our other colleagues. So at this time, we'll let Council take over, and we'll come back to you guys with the rest of our questions. Thank you.
Councilmember, I'll pass it along to Councilmember Kristen Richardson Jordan. You've got 5 minutes, and then Councilmember Riley.
Okay, thank you for the testimony. I wanted to ask, because I have one in district specifically around CUNY, and what are the different programs that are coming through CUNY, and if you know the budget line of how much is in contract there.
Well, CUNY, in terms of budget, I really don't know. But CUNY offered, we're in contact with CUNY's adult literacy programs, and we collaborate on a lot of things. So I know they offer, services in English language, reading, writing, basic education, and high school prep. High school prep. They also have, I'm pretty sure the CUNY START, the Math START programs to prepare students who just enrolled in college, to prepare them for a successful career in college.
Do you have any sense of the numbers, the numbers of folks involved in those programs?
Oh, sure. I don't have it right now, but I certainly can provide that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Riley.
Thank you, Chair Hanif. I just want to piggyback off Chair Stevens. I know we were talking about the providers, but what community input will be given during the RFP process? What outreach will you be doing, and what community groups? Will it be community board community board groups? Will it be public libraries? Will it be the DOE? What community groups will you be utilizing during the RFP project?
You mean to promote to let people know about the RFP?
Correct.
Upcoming RFP?
Correct. To making sure we're choosing the right providers to address each community's needs.
Well, DYCD always, reaches out to all providers that have contracts with DYCD to be informed of any RFP that's upcoming. And right now, as you all know, the passport systems, all service providers use the passport, for contracting process. They're all in the passport. So our notifications of, forthcoming RFPs are announced in the system. So, people will all know that.
So there's no outreach to any community boards or any community groups
Well, we
about the
certainly,
RFPs?
when ready, we certainly talk, and promote and let people know, working with DYCD have, thousands of contracts, and we have different program areas. We work with neighborhood development areas, community boards, and we always talk about the availability of.
Could you engage with the members as well so we could properly engage our community?
Yeah, sure.
Lots of
Once social media, the websites, and
Okay.
all this. Yeah, sure. So the whole thing is that once the concept paper is out, we certainly will be shared with you, and that's basically telling people, the RFPs are forthcoming.
Thank you.
Sure.
Councilmember Williams, please.
Can you share the breakdown of where the community-based organizations are located by borough? Like how many are in each borough? I think you said there's like 40. So do you know how much are in each borough? I know that certain boroughs have higher rates of people who don't speak English or not literate. So just wondering the breakdown by borough.
Right. So currently, between our baseline contracts and the council-funded initiatives, we have, about 114 programs out there, providing ESL, reading, writing, high school prep programs. And let's see, I actually have a breakdown here. Roughly, all right, out of that number, about 34% in Brooklyn and 19% in Queens.
19?
16% in Bronx, and 27% in Manhattan, about 4% in Staten Island.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a rough,
Okay.
breakdown we have.
You said 19% in Queens, right?
Yep.
Not that I don't care about the whole city, but I am from Queens. Just saying. I do care about the whole city, but Queens is the world's borough, which all jokes aside, what that means is that we have a lot of folks. That's fine, but Queens is the world's borough, which means that we have a lot of folks from all across the globe. So, and I did recognize, and that is one of the boroughs that do have high rates of folks who are not English proficient. Okay, switching gears a little bit. Are you aware of the Literacy Access Center survey?
Say it again?
Are you aware of the Literacy Access Center survey? Okay, so apparently they did a study, and they asked about how COVID-19 has impacted students, and from the study or survey rather, they found that 78% of respondents reported lower class attendance. And so I'm also wondering if DYCD has been thinking about how to adjust to this new normal, because I think that things will probably still, for the most part, remain hybrid or remote. So just wondering if you all have thought through, how to maybe better hold providers accountable for providing certain services that are not just in person, and how to incentivize people who might be getting services remotely.
Well, using technology to enhance instruction has always been our priority. Even before the pandemic, DYCD, through our technical assistance provider, reached out to Google, and we, actually trained and familiarized our CBO staff with the Google Classroom platform. And before that, our staff were already, learning about the concepts and actually using the platform to manage online instruction. And when the pandemic, hit us, and we pivoted very quickly, and our CBOs were very creative, and they continued all the services through different kinds of platforms. And of course, at the beginning, we talked about Google Classroom, Zoom, and then later social media, even WeChat, WhatsApp, emails, phones, whatever, to connect people first, right? And to provide the services during those very extraordinary times. Through the pandemic, we learned that we actually can do this. You know, we learned valuable skills, how to do well in terms of providing online instruction. It's important. It's a way to access people that, you know, otherwise cannot access literacy services because of different reasons. I understand that. I also know the advantages and disadvantages of online teaching because I've taught online classes, you know. So, you know, but you know, I think at this time, as we recover from the pandemic, we cannot and we should not just abandon those skills, you know, that we learned, and we should actually build on the success. And we should, you know, be thinking of creative ways to actually integrate online teaching into the future literacy programming.
And that was my question. My question was really like, because I appreciate what you said, and it's clear that you certainly, and maybe DYCD has an understanding of the importance of technology and things being on online platforms. But the question really is like, based off of your personal opinions and thoughts on that, as DYCD now also holding providers accountable for making sure that they're also thinking through ways to deliver that service?
Well, I mean, you know, DYCD, you know, they you know, we talk about this, they all share this, and you know, we all agree that it's important. But you know, as we recover from the pandemic, and as we begin to, you know, help to, you know, restore the economy and everything, we are, and also the risk of the pandemic is relatively low. So we, you know, provided guidelines to our program saying that, you know, we should, you know, we anticipate programs to begin to return to in-person services. So one thing I want to say is, I want to share is that, you know, for language teaching, for language classes, you know, a classroom where students are there is important. It encourages and facilitates group discussion, interactions among students and between students and the teacher, students helping each other. And that the whole atmosphere that you create in a classroom, you know, an online platform, unfortunately, may not be able to provide. You know, I have experience with that. You know, for online classes, yes, if you are highly motivated, you have the equipment, the access, reliable access, and you know, you can dedicate the time without interruption and distraction. Yes, you can learn, but you know, unfortunately, as you probably all know, a lot of our students in the programs access our programs through a phone, right? Phone with a small screen, you know, has very limited, you know, usage in terms of, you know, interactions in the classroom, do a lot of different kind of assignments, share documents, and all. It has its limits. But, you know, with all that said, we are, you know, we're saying coming back, but there is a lot of flexibility built into this. So let me share that with you. You know, we basically have let our programs know that they can have the remote option to provide online assessment, online orientation, you know, online counseling services. So wherever students feel convenient, and then they should be able to do that. But if students want to do it in person, they should also provide the in-person option. So the both should be there for these. You know what we want to encourage in terms of the remote is really, you know, the instructional piece. You know, we want to see more of that. But we also said that, you know what, if you have a limited space because you lost space during the pandemic and you have not been able to get it back, all right, so let us know. We can talk about it, and you can plan certain number of classes, online to continue the services. So there is the flexibility there. And also we said that you can work with us to create hybrid classes to accommodate, homebound people with health issues, right? So then you can do classes like that and accommodate these people. So that's basically what we did. We let providers know that this is our expectation, but we also have built in flexibility.
Thank you. We will have some more questions about remote and hybrid instruction, but before going into that, I had some follow-up in the previous section that my colleague, Councilmember Stevens, covered. What kind of support do you provide to providers?
Oh, to providers? Well, we work very closely with our providers, and we know that, we're monitoring the contracts to make sure that, services are delivered, and all that. But, we know that we're there to provide support, to make sure that they have what they need to provide the services. So, and of course, we do, regular meetings with providers. That's a platform where we hear from them, they hear from us. We share information, we exchange resources, we talk about issues, and that's a very important platform, and we do that very regularly. And then we provide lots of professional development to our providers. We actually fund the LAC to provide technical assistance to our providers. Those professional development, include workshops, institutes, curriculum development, digital literacy, training of staff to test students using the best class, the standardized test that we use. So whatever needs, arise, and we will, we will work with the LAC to meet that needs. For example, this year, the state has switched from the task to GED, and so we revert back to use GED, and so then providers need to learn more about GED in terms of scheduling testing, in terms of the content and all that. So then, then we pivoted and we changed our plan with the LAC, and we provided support training to our providers and shared resources and information about GED so that they can prepare their students for the GED testing seamlessly. So we connect as I said earlier, we look at different resources. Google collaboration was one to help them with that, and we work with other providers. And example is, we connect providers to college prep programs, for ABE and HSE programs. The students who have the need to go to college, especially for those who plan to go to CUNY. We work with CUNY, and in fact, recently we met with CUNY staff just to talk about, what that CUNY Start and Math Start program is all about. And we want to make sure that our students, as they graduate, as they got this high school diploma, get the GED, even though they may not feel ready to go to CUNY, you should go, because CUNY has this program to, again, prepare you, academically, and help you navigate the system to make sure you have a successful career there. So, we do all this support, and we work with City Tutors program, where they have volunteer tutors to coach people, at different schedules on different subjects and all that. So there are a lot of resources, and we try to bring to our providers. And of course, our providers are very resourceful too. That's why we have meetings, and they always share with us what resources they have, and others can, also, use, whatever they learn from their colleagues.
And then, I mean, it's great and encouraging to know that you all convene with the providers pretty regularly. Is that quarterly or is that?
Pretty much quarterly. Yeah.
And then do they have like a point person per their borough when questions arise, or they have questions about funding or the contract? Like, who do they reach out to?
When they have questions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that's a platform, when we meet, they will, they have programmatic questions, questions about anything contract related, program related, they let us know, and we help them. If we need to reach out to others, we will. And quite a few of them are actually members of NICAL.
Mm-hmm.
So, once thoughts, issues were shared there, NICAL knows that. NICAL will advocate, and that's how I think that's a very useful platform. All program directors go to that meeting. We usually have a very good turnout. In the last meeting, we had 90 people, online. So.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then the breakdown you provided of providers across the boroughs, is that determined by are there more providers in Brooklyn and that's why Brooklyn has the most programming? How is that determined?
Well, as I mentioned, I mentioned that there's about 114 programs there, right? About half of them, a little bit more than half of them, okay, about 70 of them probably, are DYCD funded programs through our RFPs. When we issue RFPs, geographic needs are always looked at, considered when we allocate funds. In fact, I think last time we allocate funds by borough, looking at census data and community needs. But, the other close to half of programs are council designated.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the list from you guys.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so now I'm going to move into what Councilmember Natasha began on remote and hybrid instruction. So we know that during the past 2 years, programs have seen the incredible value of online and hybrid adult literacy classes and programming for certain subsets of students, especially for those with mobility issues, childcare issues, transportation issues, who don't live near a community-based organization or don't have access to culturally competent services that meet their needs, and ongoing concerns about health and safety. Online and hybrid classes and programming clearly provide additional learning opportunities for those who might not otherwise be able to be served. So at this moment, is DYCD requiring that programs be conducted in person?
Not exactly. As I just mentioned earlier, we have issued guidance, anticipating programs to return to in-person services with, flexibility there. As I just mentioned, you have adult literacy program, you have different activities. We kind of looked at that. We said, well, guess what? For students' convenience, if they they want remote services for, the intake, the assessment, counseling, the program orientation, all those programs have an option to do them online. And also we said that you cannot deny a person access to these services when they wanted to do it in person. So in other words, you need to have both options, for participants.
Got it. So there's no requirement that at
for
some
that, yeah,
date
for that piece,
and time.
we said you have the flexibility. You do, either in person or online or both. The whole thing is that services is to be there. And we also, as I said earlier, for classroom instruction, if you lost classrooms and if not being able to regain the space, let us know, and we'll work with you. And if you lost one room out of the 3, all right, so we'll look at the 33%, right? So how we build a program that will do that much online so we don't want any services to be lost. So that's for sure. We also said that for homebound people with health reasons, you can let us know. You can build a hybrid program to give access to these people. So we have made it very clear to all our providers.
That's great. And would you say that attendance has increased through this hybrid model, or when the program was remote? Are you capturing that in any way?
We see the whole thing is that when you did we had to do online. Because of the pandemic, right? The pandemic had direct impact on our ability to recruit, enroll, and maintain students, even attendance. Because of lots of health issues, work schedules and all that. So at this point, I don't feel there is a good comparison in terms of attendance, comparing online versus in person, because you did the online services when there is, challenges, right? So only under equal normal circumstances, when you compare them, it might give you a better sense. But I do have, heard from program, anecdotally that, some tell me that, they certainly have, more people accessing classes and all that. I believe so. I mean, especially with the high-level programs, high-level classes, right, where people, have better, are better able to access the services and better able to navigate the systems. But in the meantime, you also, even though you're online, you still need to think about, the number of students in a class, right? It's not like, we basically, would advise against, more than 25 people in a room. It's too many people for low-level students, for English language learners to be able to, for teachers to, address their individual needs. Even if it's an online class, you can't have, so many students in that, they all sign on, are they learning? So you still need interaction. We're not talking about a teacher sitting there lecturing students. We're still talking about class. Right. We're still talking about instruction. You need interactions. You need students' participation. And even if it's online, you can't have that many students. It's different from a lecture format, let's say, in a college.
Would you be able to provide us with the attendance of just like the COVID time remote class and then now the hybrid?
I can, we have, so currently, the majority of our programs are either remote or hybrid, right? I think that probably 90% are remote, actually. So I can give you what kind of attendance we have right now. Probably, next year when we have more in-person classes, then we can do a comparison.
Great, that would be wonderful. And then have you formally collected feedback from providers or program participants regarding the value of online and hybrid classes?
Have we? Well, during the pandemic, the LAC did a survey of all the providers of, the online program, the advantages, and what people think about it. There was a report, and we certainly, the report was shared with us. We certainly looked at that, and we certainly felt that it was the online services at that time was needed. That's why we at DYCD, we have been supporting programs doing, the online services, in FY20, FY21, all the time. At our providers' meetings, we have providers share with us, their program, how they're doing in terms of, their instructional modalities and all that. And I remember probably last October, and we sent out a survey of programs, basically to ask them how they're doing in terms of the instructional modalities and how students are adapting. Yes, we do.
Could you share some of the kind of findings
Yeah, I can certainly.
pertaining to just like hybrid and online?
Or the advantages, what people
Or
think
even
about
the
it.
challenges.
Challenges. Yeah, I can take a look at the LAC report. We can probably share that report with you. That was over a year ago. Then, whatever we have heard from providers, I can do a summary of that.
Thank you. And then what's DYCD planning to do through the next RFP process to allow for the continuation or expansion of online and hybrid adult literacy classes and programming? Are there some lessons learned from this challenge to build on the good work?
Sure. As I said, we've learned skills. We've learned how to do this, and we shouldn't just forget about it. We shouldn't just abandon, right? We should continue and build on this. As I said, we're, at least from my perspective, I'm going to strongly, propose, integration of online services into the literacy programming. How that's going to be like, and will that happen? It all depends on, how we are programming under the RFP and funds availability. Because you need, when you think about online program, they are similar to how you provide classes in a room, but there are certain parameters you must have. There are certain things you must have in place to have a real online program that will enhance students' learning experience. And yes, and we want to seriously think about doing that. So until the RFP is out, I really can't say whether it's really going to be there or whether it's not going to be there. But we're seriously thinking about it.
Great. We'll definitely follow up around just like what the new and transformed curriculum is going to look like to allow for providers to feel more comfortable. I do want to acknowledge that Councilmember Chiosei was here at one point. And then what policies is DYCD putting into place in FY23 to ensure maximum flexibility? And I know you mentioned that you're sort of still working through the kinks here and are waiting for the RFP. Like there's some time here for the planning to really get into gear. But are you able to provide anything in terms of some specific policies that were laid out during the COVID time for effective adult literacy instructional models for remote and hybrid and in person?
Well, I mean, first of all, adult learners come from different backgrounds with various needs and different ages. So first and foremost is be able to differentiate that, provide, instructional services that address, that kind of needs, right? So I think, formal classroom instruction should always be accompanied by, supplemental help. So We Speak NYC from Moyer, that online platform is a great, conversational kind of, a platform for students to practice their spoken English, and that's why we work closely to train our providers to use that system, and Moyer has provided training to our providers, and so it's a great thing. And we also have sort of like established some kind of a referral system, so students sign up on that online platform, learn to spoken English. When they feel they are ready to move on to a classroom setting, where you sit with other people with a set schedule, and then they get referred to our programs. So I think the collaboration with partners, providing those other supplemental kind of services is very important. During the pandemic, we purchased 2 online software programs that made available to our programs, so that students and teachers alike can access their program and can learn, reading, writing, math, and career exploration, civics, and all that, whenever they want to, or wherever they are. And it's online software programs we made available for our programs. So things like that definitely are helpful. As I said earlier, I think there is certainly advantages to online instruction.
Thank you, and we look forward to DYCD formalizing some of these policies instead of keeping them informal and informally flexible. I'd like to acknowledge that Councilmember Alexa Aviles is here. And I also just wanted to get an overview of the We Speak NYC program, where it's happening, the partnership with the council members, and anything else that you can provide at this time.
Let my colleagues add more.
Thank you.
Hi. So We Speak is currently, so let me just talk a little bit about what We Speak is. It is a facilitated class by volunteers. It is a step it's the beginning step for people who are in New York and would like to begin learning English. So our curriculum is developed through CUNY. It is episodes, and our website is interactive with quizzes, and people can either come to the classes or they can do these things on their own, should they choose. We consider ourselves a huge bridge for people beginning to learn English and helping to facilitate them in their next steps. Currently, We Speak, so pre-pandemic, we were citywide, host sites, different partner sites, again, volunteer-based. These sites are not funded. The volunteers that we have, many of which were previous learners, which is fantastic, would facilitate the classes. Post-pandemic and during the pandemic, we went fully remote. We actually tripled the number of learners that we have by going remote, and we actually had learners globally. So we were having people log in from Russia and South America. It was actually amazing in some of our classrooms on Zoom. And currently we have begun with the libraries opening back up for in-person instruction. We have spoken with our previous partners, some of which may not host us again as far as in-person classes, some of which will. 23 will be where we will begin seeing people return to an in-person classroom. I will say, just bouncing off a question that someone had asked DYCD earlier, we have found that the online classroom makes it much more accessible for people. We have classes every day. We have them all different times of day, which really speaks to different schedules. People do not have to worry about childcare coming to a site to begin to learn English, right? So we obviously agree with all the points made about in-person learning and how important that is for conversational purposes, but I don't know that necessarily we would abandon fully a remote option, because it has given so much access to people who don't have the ability to just leave where they are and come to a class, particularly for work or childcare reasons, which is a struggle in the immigrant community.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Councilmember Piorina Sanchez to ask her question. We've reached quorum again.
Great, wonderful. Thank you so much, Chair Hanif and Chair Stevens. Thank you for having this hearing. And DYCD, thank you for your hours of answering questions. So my question sort of goes back to the reality that we're in, right? You just finished talking about how much remote learning has, or remote options have enabled access and expanded access to constituents. And so on that point, could you describe how much of DYCD's sort of contracted work on adult literacy includes digital literacy, as well as, the English and everything else?
Can you repeat the question?
how much of DYCD's funded work includes digital literacy teaching?
Oh, okay. So digital literacy, as I said earlier, it's always one of the most important ingredients in adult literacy programming. In our last RFP, which was released back in 2014, and at that time, in RFP we already said that programs need to integrate digital literacy, teach digital literacy skills, integrate technology into instruction. So this is always, part of what we should do, and we have always been providing support to programs to integrate, computers, laptops, different software programs into programming, and of course during the pandemic, because of these circumstances, we all, kind of were compelled to go online and learn what we, hardly imagined that we were able to do, but we did it. And now, in all our programs, as I just said, and I would say that for FY20, all programs were online. FY21, in a majority of the programs were still online or hybrid. We have a few programs were started in person. So so currently all programs are kind of in a hybrid. So yes, if you talk about whether they're using technology or digital skills, yes, they all incorporated into instruction.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And just a quick related follow-up. You started off the hearing in your testimony talking about just the huge demand, and I know my colleagues have been expounding upon it during this conversation. But when is the next RFP from DYCD scheduled to go out? And is there a sort of a minimum level of commitment, a financial commitment that DYCD is willing to spend per student for adult literacy?
Yeah. I mean, we have been working on the concept paper and RFP. As I said, the RFP, new programs under the new RFP is supposed to scheduled to start July 1 to 2023. So that means, we will need to get, the RFP out this fall. I don't have a specific date, and we'll have to work with our procurement to have the specific timelines, but based on my personal experience with this, you will need that much time to get programs in place in order to avoid any gaps in services. We're going to look at every aspect of the program, including per participant, price per participant. What that is going to be like at this point, the budget numbers have not really been finalized, so I can't say for sure, what it looks like, but we certainly will look at it.
Got it. Okay, thank you, and we'll continue to push for more funding on our students. So thank you so much. Thank you, chairs.
Thank you. I just have a follow-up to Councilmember Sanchez's question, and I'll pass it along. I'll pass it along. So the LAC report that you mentioned that DYCD supported set the ideal rate at $3,700 per student. If we had the ceiling money of $50 million, as mentioned, that you referenced, in your opinion, do you agree that $3,700 would be the ideal per student investment?
Okay. First of all, let me say that 50 million is not my number. It's not what I heard. All right. So
a number you heard that you support.
Well, I think we know the news is out there, and I support to provide as much as we can to help to give people the access to education. So I certainly support that. What was your second part? Oh, the
$3,700 per
$3,700. If we had enough funding, ideally, And of course, in that report, you talk about, integrating into the literacy program 14 building blocks for the program, right? They include the comprehensive wraparound services, including full-time instructors, include good digital infrastructure, space, and a lot of things, right? So in an ideal world, I wish we could have that, and I'm a literacy person, and I certainly support these things, but I also know that we have to work with what we have, with our limited resources right now, and we do our best, to provide the quality services that we do. I think, so with what we have, we'll have to make sure that our current classroom seats needs to be filled, fully utilized. We should make sure that we have good attendance. Students are there regularly and really learning, right? So these are the things we must, try our best to do. So do the best with what we have, and of course always, advocate for more, to support the services.
Certainly, thank you. Go for it.
Well, I'm back. So I have a question. Is it possible for you to give me a breakdown of percentages of programs that are offered for English as a second language classes and adult basic education / HSE classes? Like the different breakdown of those for that?
Yeah, I mean, when we first issued the RFP, we actually were very intentional with that. We know New York City is a city of immigrants. The immigrant population keeps going up. So when we looked at that, we intentionally had, I think there was a split between, I think it's a 60-40% split between ESL and
So
ABE.
60% of the programs are ESL and 40?
That's, from the RFP, from the original RFP. And now, as we mixed in the council designated providers and mixed in our, the civics education, ESL civics education programs, which was the old IOI.
Mhm.
So if we mix this in, so actually our services for ESL, for language instruction, is way high. I think it's around 75% right now.
So it's about 75%. All right, thank you. And so I know DYCD does not hire staff and teachers for these programs. That's on the provider side. But could you talk to me a little bit about, like, how do you encourage for providers to look at folks who come through the program, people from the neighborhood, and really building that pipeline of folks, because it's always great when you have people who've had these experiences now in these programs. So how does DYCD encourage those type of involvements in the program?
Can you repeat, say it again? Sorry.
So about teachers and staff of these programs,
Mhm.
I know that you guys do not do the hiring, that is on the providers, but how does DYCD encourage that to happen within the programs?
Well, staffing the programs is extremely important, right? Whether students will stay, with the program, it has a lot to do with the instructional quality, how the instructors, work. So we have, as we have minimum requirements as to, the qualifications for instructional staff and of all staff in our programs. And also, as we all know that, within the community-based organizations, unfortunately, there are a lot of part-time teachers.
Mhm.
And then because of that, teachers, the staff turnover actually is more, I feel, more serious than many other fields. So to address that in DYCD, in our RFPs, we always, encourage programs to hire full-time people, all right? So if you know, because of the limited, whatever limits, you can't have, you know, a full-time teacher for this contract, you can actually hire a person, giving this person different roles, so to make that person a full-time employee, so that that person can receive, you know, fringe benefits and all that, so that
That's kind of interesting, because that means that they would have to put them on multiple contracts, and that seems a bit presumptuous to think that they could put them on other contracts. So,
well,
that's a little interesting to recommend.
Yeah, that's, you know, because we feel that we actually allow that, because programs sometimes ask us, right, whether they can do that.
No, I know.
You know, so then we said, well, you know, that it will help a person to become a full-time employee, and that will help with the retention of the staff.
Absolutely.
Why not?
Yeah, and I also think, even thinking about, that's one of the reasons why having a higher participant rate makes for the contract to have more money, so we can pay teachers full-time opposed to having part-time. So I think that those are things we also need to make sure we're considering in the next RFP. And just thinking about, even with the retention, when we talk about retention and staff turnover, I've found even when I ran program, it was always great when you had people who were in the program and did mentorships and teach the teacher and all those things. Are those things that you're looking to also have in the concept paper, especially during a time when providers and nonprofits are struggling with retention? Like, how are you guys looking to help and support nonprofits with building capacity around retaining staff?
Well, I mean, you know, yeah, we are always very supportive of providers. So one of the things we do is that we want to make sure that, you know, the CBO staff are well equipped to do what they are hired to do, you know, to provide quality services and all that. We have a TA provider, you know, so we work very closely. We constantly look at our plan, monitor our and revise our plan to meet the needs of the teachers, you know. So previously, when you talk about staff development plan, you always think about workshops, you know. Then we say, well, you know, single workshops, shot workshops. How helpful is that, right? So then we started to develop institutes, series of workshops, so that you have follow-up, and people learn something, go to the classroom, test it, experiment with it, you know, come back and report and share. So that's one way to, you know, interact with teachers, to engage teachers, you know, and they love that, and they love to share that. And we also later we found, you know, to help them even more targeted, is to actually provide, you know, one-on-one coaching. So that's something we worked out also. You know, coaching is one-on-one, you know, we need a lot of time and resources for that, but we managed to provide as much as we can, you know, individual coaching. So we have our staff, we have LAC staff, you know, going out, observe teachers, observe classrooms, and provide feedback and provide coaching. And I think a lot of teachers benefited from that, and they're grateful to that. And very often LAC will tell me, you know, we have this much space and it's pretty much filled. And, you know, I was really happy that we were able to do that, and we were able to provide very targeted, you know, purposeful assistance to people who really need it.
Yeah, no, I think those things are definitely needed and important, but we should also be thinking about other ways to get folks who are in these programs involved and hired in the programs, and thinking about creating those pipelines. But thank you, because coaching is definitely important. Just have one more question. Can you talk about the evaluation process for these programs and how are participant feedback included in that? Because one of my big push has always been around 360 evaluations, because it's always very one-sided. And how are we going to be moving more into hearing more voices and feedback from the community from these programs?
So you're talking about evaluation of contracts, or our monitoring of the contract.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you know, first of all, we contract with providers. We have a lot of confidence in our providers, that's for sure. And in the meantime, we assess the needs, we provide support as needed. As I mentioned, a lot of support we provided. So monitoring is an important part of our DYCD work, right? So we want to make sure that contracts are in place, are well managed. So our staff go out to programs, to visit programs on a regular basis. So what they do is that they go out there, they observe classrooms. There you can talk with teachers, we can talk with participants. Then you have an interview, a post-observation interview with the teacher and the program director, and asking questions, around, whatever is said in their work scopes, in the contracts. For example, in the work scopes, we emphasize that you are supposed to have linkages and partnerships with, other entities to make sure that your students' needs other than education, right, gets met. And you should deliver, and you should refer people to those places, and you should have a system, and you should document those. And those conversations with program directors, are around this. And we want to, so this is how we monitor the programs. We have, of course, we have a tool, we call it the EMS, evaluation, contract management, evaluation, and you heard about that in the previous.
I ran programs. So
I'm
fully aware of what those.
So we use those, and there are, indicators that, basically these are the expectations and all that. That's originally written in RFP, and we turn that into an instrument to kind of check off, to make sure there's, what needs to happen, and if there is a need for assistance, for support, for technical assistance, that's when we, after each visit we have a report that we will share with providers with the findings, right? And there are times when we have to call them in to say, hey, here we have certain issues. What's happening? Why do you think it's happening? How are we going to address that? Do you need additional help? And at DYCD, we have a capacity building unit, whose sole purpose is to provide all kinds of services, support services to providers. So if necessary, we'll make that connection, refer them to that unit for extra support.
So where in there is feedback from participants, if there's any?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, when we observe classrooms, there is the opportunity to talk with participants.
It's okay to say that you don't have it. It's okay.
Yeah,
Just gotta work on it.
Yeah, it's not that much, but we do. But you also know that DYCD does surveys of program participants, not just literacy programs, throughout.
Could you share us what that survey is?
I can ask.
We need to see it.
Girl.
Chair Stevens knows that. She runs programs. She knows the stories.
But building on Councilmember Stevens' question, just one more. I do want to better understand how the curriculum is created. Like, given that you are taking feedback, does DYCD provide support?
That's a good question.
So Councilmember Stevens is shaking her head, but and I ask this because we've been pushing our schools, for example, to have histories that teach about Black studies, LGBTQ communities, to have curriculum around Asian histories. Like, are those being incorporated into the programming?
That's a very good question. One thing I wanted to make clear is that we do not have a prescribed curriculum across the board, and based on what I know is that programs really, you have people of different backgrounds, different needs, and it's really you should leave it to the programs for them to create their own curriculum, their own syllabus curriculum, lesson plans. And one thing we do is that through our TA support, and we want to make sure that, first of all, in RFP, we always say that class instructions, classrooms needs to be contextualized, to incorporate those very important topics and themes that are relevant to students' lives, right? So, things like, healthcare, digital literacy, financial literacy, civic engagement, all these things, employment, all those things, they're there and they're supposed to do that. And we go out there and we look for, instruction that actually incorporate those concepts in there. And the TA support, our TA support, always will look at how we can incorporate themes for contextualized instruction, right? The LEC engaged a vendor. It's called something history. Actually, it's looking at different historical periods and looking at a certain context, and teach people, the historical figures, events in a certain period of time, and have students understand that. And we have incorporated, civics in our instruction. We have also provided workshops on curriculum development and revision. So when we had our civics classes, and the LEC was able to provide a series of workshops that help people to incorporate ideas and strategies to, enable programs to do a integrated program that has both English instruction and civic education. So yes, there are lots of incorporation of different themes.
Thank you. That's my final question to the admin. I want to pass it to Councilmember Aviles for some questions.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you to the UICD staff and to Moya for being here. My name is Alexa Aviles, council member for District 38 in South Brooklyn, which includes Sunset Park and Red Hook, home to thousands of incredible immigrants. So for our community, adult literacy programs is quite critical. It's a fundamental service. So in fact, if you ask me, the $50 million seems about right, no matter where it came from, because we know at its current level, it is certainly not meeting how foundational adult literacy is for life. Yes, we're getting hands. So I will agree to the $50 million mark as the goal of what we should be providing services for. You don't have to agree with that, Commissioner. I wanted to, because I came late, I apologize if some of these questions you've already answered them, but they are important to me because these services are so important to our community. So I wanted to be sure to have the answers. In your testimony, with the additional $6.7 million in funding for fiscal 23, will that RFP allow for enhancement services, or is it purely relegated? So enhancements, what I mean is like wraparound services and additional resources for the same number of participants of fiscal 22, rather than the 6.7 being fully relegated to more students at the same low rate?
Well, first of all, the 6.7, we saw that number, and it's a new money, and I don't have the full understanding of that money, whether it's money beyond FY23 or it's a one-year money. It's not sure at this point, but the RFP has, the FY22 baseline $8 million in there, and certainly we are looking at, as I said earlier, we're looking at everything in that program, a better program model with as much support service as we can. And I already mentioned that we are seriously looking at adding, for example, counseling services, in this, and we think they're very important we want to propose that.
Great. And just to make sure it is as explicit as possible, we would like to see the rate increased from its current rate, which many providers feel is really insufficient. So we would love to see the new RFP increase that rate significantly so that they can provide as much robust services to members as possible. Is that also under consideration to increase the rate, the per pupil rate?
I mean, everything is under consideration, and it's really, it all depends on how it comes out and also the availability of funds. And we support that. In our last NDA RFP, which was released a year ago, and in that RFP, there is literacy program in there, and the rate in that RFP had already been raised. So it's like we always look at that, and when possible, we definitely, would want to do that. I mean, we're all here to support literacy services.
Absolutely. I think I'm also hearing you're a big fan of quality, as I am, and so quality over quantity would be really important. And so a larger rate for providers to be able to provide the full scope of service that is necessary is something I think we'd all be very much in support of. So we look forward to see all the considerations and that one particularly be prioritized. In terms of also the RFP, are you looking to consider hybrid instruction to be allowable in fiscal 23 as well?
Well, I mean, the RFP is not written yet. I also said earlier that personally, I think, online teaching is an important part, and DYCD always, put emphasis on technology. So yes, we want to think of ways to integrate online teaching in our programming. So we hope that it will happen.
Great, we do too. If I may, I just have one more question.
Go for it.
I guess you mentioned good attendance, and I guess my brain translated that as both physical attendance and hybrid attendance. Is that what you meant when you were talking about?
For quality?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, attendance means whatever classes you offer.
Okay.
People need to be there.
Right. Okay. I'm just underscoring how important hybrid is. But last but not least, our favorite topic of contracts. We're entering fiscal 23, obviously talking about that. Some of the providers that I am aware of have not been paid 1 cent for the work that they've done in fiscal 22. Can you tell me about the status of the payment of those contracts for our providers? And if so, what is being done to ensure timely payments on contracts?
Well, the one thing I can share, I'm sure you already know, that, addressing this backlog of contract registration is a priority, within our agency. Within the administration, that the mayor and the controller, had set up a task force just to look at this issue, and came up with lots of recommendations to improve the process. Within DYCD, this has been our priority last month, and we have actually set up a team of experts, in contract processing, looking at, every step of the way, and we're determined to clear the backlog, within a short period of time. And so the group meets, I think it's every morning, and they do the report back to, every week to us, and where we are. So we just last 2 weeks I heard, great progress in clearing backlogs. So yeah, a lot of efforts have been made, and we have a special group of people with a project manager, and yes, we're addressing that.
So I'm glad to hear that. I would love to perhaps get a report on the actual status of where those contracts and their payments are. And, you know, in particular, I know obviously there are many contracts across the agency, but particularly with the adult literacy providers, if we could get a status update on where those payments are and absolute time frames. Short period could mean years in city time. So we love
That's not what I meant.
we love a more definitive time of when those contracts will get paid out, so that our providers can do the work that we've set out to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for answering our questions, and we look forward to further engagement on the questions that weren't answered quite fully. We can now go into public testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. We will call the first panel of witnesses, starting with Johan Lopez, followed by Jason Bacco, and then Caroline Squan. Is Johan on the Zoom?
Starting time.
I don't see Johan, and since it doesn't seem like he's responding, we will move on to Jason Bacco. Jason, you can go ahead when the sergeant calls time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Jason Bacco. I'm the academic coordinator at Northern Manhattan Improvement Corporation. We're also known as NIMIC, and we serve all New York City residents with a focus on those in Northern Manhattan and in the South and West Bronx. So I want to talk a little bit about City Council pilot funding and how it's necessary to ensure that our program is going to be able to meet these post-pandemic needs. Our biggest barrier during the pandemic were technology access and technology skill. As work and learning moved to an online world, many of our students risk being left behind due to the lack of skills and technology. With the City Council pilot funding, our program was for the first time able to meaningfully engage this problem and create contextual curriculum that reduces the digital divide for our students and prepares them for the realities of a post-pandemic New York. That's not to say that some of our students did not overcome the digital difficulties. In fact, we were able to reach students that previously had been unable to engage in classes due to a variety of reasons, including childcare, transportation, work schedules, and other conditions. What we fear is a return to only in-person learning. Our program will lose many students who will not find somewhere else to go. And these are students who, for the first time, were able to engage in this type of educational opportunity. Furthermore, the pilot funding has allowed us to recruit and retain high-quality teachers with deep ties to our community. A perennial challenge in adult education, something that we've discussed, is the high turnover rate of instructors. And these are because of inconsistent schedules, low pay, several reasons that come with being part-time. So consistency in any educational program is the cornerstone of success. Students come to rely on their instructors, and learning communities are built over time with consistent instructors. The additional funding allowed us to hire a longtime instructor full-time, and our instructor was actually a member of the community, and it just deepened that connection. So as we move into post-pandemic New York, additional support for adult literacy programs is more important than ever. This support looks different than it did in 2019. Adult literacy programs need support to offer broader curriculum and more holistic services with flexibility depending on where we are, what our agency is able to do. Continuing the pilot program and continuing the support for online learning will allow us to pivot in a nimble and meaningful way that serves our communities as they face new challenges and adapt to the world post-pandemic. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Caroline Squan.
And I just ask that you keep your testimony to 2 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you to Chair Hanif, Chair Stevens, and the Committees on Immigration and Youth Services for this opportunity to testify today. My name is Caroline Scow, and I'm a teacher with the Chinese American Planning Council. Last fall, we began teaching hybrid classes and discovered that our outdated technology was completely inadequate. With the Adult Literacy Pilot Project funding, we were able to buy new laptops, new webcams, and speakers that made hybrid classes possible. With the help of a new administrative assistant funded by the pilot program, my students were able to find jobs, enroll in higher education, and receive citizenship. One of my students actually escaped a domestic violence situation, and because of our higher capacity, we were able to immediately connect her with shelter resources. Providing hybrid classes was really key for me. The majority of my students didn't and still don't feel comfortable leaving the house at all because of COVID and public safety concerns. We also reached a lot of people who are caring for children, other family who have mobility problems, as well as older community members who wouldn't be able to keep taking our classes if they become only available in person. Continuing to have classes both in person and virtual is the best way of providing equitable opportunities to our most vulnerable New Yorkers. This is all a pretty good start, but our programs really need so much more. Continued additional funding means we'd be able to upgrade, for example, our Wi-Fi connection. At times, the Wi-Fi in our classroom was so poor that I needed to supplement it with my own phone's hotspot during class. Many of our classrooms are still using old chalkboards or whiteboards when students could be using smartboards and utilizing 21st century classroom equipment. Digital literacy education could really go a long way towards addressing some of our students' technological challenges and preparing them to enter the workforce. Second, enhanced funding would address our staff shortages. For example, if I'm not able to teach, I have to cancel my class and reschedule for a future date because we don't have the funding for substitute teachers. We need culturally competent technology assistants who can train and troubleshoot problems for our teachers and students. We also need teaching assistants so that classes are not overcrowded and students can get the feedback and the practice they need. I want to emphasize that the previous funding model is not good enough. The only reason our classes have been so successful with such low funding is because our staff works tirelessly and overtime to provide the services that our students need. And I really think that we and our students deserve more. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we are going to call a panel up here. It's Yekaterina Berkmans, Lisa Diomande, and Jillian Biggin. I apologize for any names I have butchered. You can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Yekaterina Berkmans, teaching with Agudath Israel. And I've been teaching online classes. And one maybe new thing that I'm going to say today is that I am an interactive teacher. And surprisingly, unlike what I've heard, interactive classes were possible and even better than in-person classes in remote education. And people, one of the reasons being perhaps that people were happy to have the classes available, and people were very relaxed and open in the comfort of their homes. Also, there are technical means to do that, like you could create chat groups, like breakup groups. So interactive education is something that has totally worked. The students were very happy with the classes. In fact, what we've seen in remote groups is that students attracted a lot of other students who were unable to come to in-person groups, but were really able to come to remote groups. Another thing that we've been seeing is that because people had to use technology that they hadn't been exposed to before, not even just the English proficiency, but the technological proficiency of our customers has really raised, and people who were only ready to submit a piece of like written homework have been sending incredible materials with pictures and typed stuff, and we'll be happy to provide you with the evidence of that. And let me just reiterate that we have reached a lot of unreached groups of population, like working people who couldn't incorporate traveling to classes in their schedule. people who just a lot of stay-home moms that are so happy to be able, for example, to nurse a baby and learn English, which has been great. People with health issues, and I'm so proud of my population of elderly students who are now able to use technology and take care of their families, their English-speaking grandchildren, their health needs. And that's basically it. And I'm really, really hoping that the funding will allow the remote education to continue. Thank you.
You go for it.
Okay. Is this on? Hi, my name is Lisa Diomande. I am the program coordinator and instructor at Henry Street Workforce Development Center. So I am one of those very special people that teaches and administers, and I have a full-time job. Congratulate me. So it is. So I understand a lot of these things because I look at it from both sides, and it's really. But I care mostly about the teaching because my students are my reason for being an administrator. So I think it's very important. We heard a lot today. 25% of Native people, according to what we heard today, is the percentage that was given for people that are born here that did not make it through school. This is a population that I think is greatly overlooked. In New York City, we praise and we support immigrants, maybe not enough, but more than we do the natives and the socially inequities that we've seen in our city. Those people are left behind in a huge proportion. So, and I find that those students have many more problems that go back generations because it's about being in low-income situations generation after generation. So I think we should try to expand our services to include an understanding of what it is for first-generation Americans, second-generation Americans that are still dealing with bilingualism that was never adequately addressed in K through 12 and isn't being addressed adequately in adult education. So that's one of my biggest points. But I also would like to say that hybrid is totally important for all of us. It was a very difficult transition, but we have to learn from what the society learned. Everybody went back to work at home, and they found out that, they could do their work and take care of their families, and it was better. The same thing with in-class instruction. It is better for everybody. It's a transition, it's a change, it's an adjustment, but we do have many more tools and options. So I think it's very important for us to really understand that we are in transition here to a new model, and we all are aware of what the tools should be and need to be, and we should just start adopting them right away. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council and Chairs. My name is Jillian Vigon. I'm here today to testify on behalf of the need to increase funding for each adult student in New York City. Although I was able to achieve my TASC high school equivalency diploma through the Henry Street Workforce Development Center with the help of Lisa, I believe that this was despite the funding at the time. It was a result of determined teachers and their providers. Increasing student funding will provide more tools and time to our undervalued community-based organizations to ensure tremendous success in achieving GED diplomas. I realize I am the exception to the general demographics of adult literacy programs. The profile I carry of a New York City native Caucasian female often work to my disadvantage. The assumptions are that someone with my characteristics would not need additional support. My inability to finish high school was not a result of a lack of learning, but rather a lack of support. My education pitfalls resulted from life circumstances that included family issues, financial challenges, and health complexities. I also lacked a general belief in myself, especially when compared to those in my community. This became not a case of conquering science and math, but rather conquering myself. I enrolled in the HSE preparation program at Henry Street Settlement 9 years after my expected high school graduation date. I was pursued outside of the program hours to get myself to commit to a process of learning that I thought I would fail at. I was seen as capable and worthwhile. This was the most essential piece of my success, increasing my sense of my own worth. This program motivated me to commit to myself. Additionally, the use of remote learning was a value add for this process for those like myself with health limitations, which increased my commitment and attendance to learning. If my struggle was as hard as it was, what was it like for people with more significant challenges, like immigrants? People without English, family, income, or housing? People with emotional, mental, or learning disabilities? How would they go the distance without more support from the city? I'm presenting my story today of mixed struggle and privilege as an example of someone who was luckier than most. I still almost failed. I almost failed myself. This great city of New York must step up and provide greater funding per student so that they can succeed sooner, faster, and more completely. Ultimately, this will cost the city less as fewer people cycle in and out of programs. Today, I stand here proud to be a product of these resources, but I feel more is needed. I have a newfound passion for social impact to improve the lives of others like myself. It was inspired by the support I received at Henry Street, and I am paying it forward by working with and for them today and appealing to you to do more. Please do not fail the thousands like me who want to succeed. Thank you.
Thank you. A question for this panel. I mean, it's so encouraging to hear about the positive outcomes of remote and hybrid courses offered. Were there directives around how to go remote and or hybrid? And like, is there anything in place right now, or are you all just sort of coming up with that?
I'm a great improvisational teacher. So I integrate digital learning as it comes up, and it comes up all the time. And as was said today, we have a lot of smartphone learners. We try to give them rent out laptops, and we try to teach them when they come in to register. We give them a quick tutorial. We send them home, and then we just keep on them and help them to expand their learning. So that's been my approach.
And mine has been very much the same. I'm also another great improvisational teacher, and I think it just for me was just very infectious with the students. Once they see it's working, they really catch on.
And as a participant, and it was extremely effective for me to be able to improvise and then also be able to build my own study course and within my own lifestyle and how it would suit best with all my challenges that I had at the time.
So nothing sort of in writing, like here's scenario 1 to do hybrid, scenario 2 to do hybrid, or to go fully remote. Here's what we're offering. You're relying on your own sort of improvisational skills to...
Not only, but I'm very grateful to my directors at Agudath Israel, and there's been a wonderful set of workshops that were available. Yeah, so that was available, and I'm very happy that it was.
And then if there's 1 or 2 things that you're looking for to strengthen the hybrid model, what would you share with us?
Technology.
I am shocked that the city of New York has not established Wi-Fi connections for the entire city that is just of a certain basic standard. My students don't have Wi-Fi connections if they do have a phone or they do have a laptop. So then we have several hurdles all built in. Why do we have internet access in subway stations, but we don't have it above ground throughout the city? This I do not understand. But then after that, we give everybody a laptop. We rent it to them, we loan it to them, but they get experience. We create computer labs. The GED, we've gotten very little establishment of what that means, but the GED test is now only in these computer centers. So what am I supposed to do to my students to get them ready for that kind of an experience? I only have paper tests. I don't have GED tests. I don't have computerized tests. So I'm sending them in blind. So I could go on.
No, thank you. This is really helpful to hear.
Maybe laptops available to everybody would be something really helpful.
And have the providers been receiving laptops, or are you all on your own purchasing for loan?
We have new laptops given to us through, I think, the MOIA or whatever the new initiatives are.
Okay.
And I would say I'm actually running the Summer Youth Employment Initiative funded by the DYCD through Henry Street. And even just our technology availabilities there are just quite poor. And we often have to pull from our other programmatic efforts for technology as well, including our HSC prep.
But they are better than they were in 2019.
This is true.
Great. That's good to hear. And does having these laptops ensure that every student is covered, or are there moments when students have to share?
Yeah.
Most of my students are on Zoom.
Okay. Understood. Thank you. We can move on to the next panel unless, Councilmember, you have any questions?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next panel we will call is Anthony Tassi, followed by Lena Cohen, then Zenaida Leonova, and Lauren Higgins. Anthony, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time. Please, everyone, note that there is a 2-minute timer for testimony, and the sergeants will let you know when your time has lapsed.
Well, good afternoon, Chair Hanif and Chair Stevens. I'm not sure if you're still there. Really appreciate all the time and effort you put into this hearing. I'm the CEO of Literacy Partners. We're an adult literacy program that focuses exclusively on immigrant and low-income parents of young children. And my daughter is a student at MS88, where Councilmember Aviles has played a leading role in advocating for just education funding, and I want to really appreciate her for that. I previously served in a previous administration as the Director of Adult Education for the city, and I tell you, I cannot recall a more thoughtful conversation on adult literacy as the one we're having today, and frankly, more engaged leadership than you're demonstrating today, Chair Hanif. So I really, as a New Yorker, I really want to extend my appreciation. I also want to reiterate and support the comments about the per student funding. At Literacy Partners, we spend about $2,400 per ESOL student. We get great results. We'd like to spend more. Certainly an RFP at $2,000 or more would give every community-based organization that has funding the wherewithal to provide the level of service that our students really deserve. As a starting measure, I would encourage you to encourage DYCD to issue that RFP. Extending contracts from 2014 into 2023 is not a good look for any municipal agency, and there's certainly great benefit that will come for finally issuing this new RFP with a higher per student rate. I also want to just mention remote instruction. We have found that we've been able to generate better results under remote instruction. Our ESOL students have made educational gains quicker than they used to when we were in person. And if you think about the dynamics of a 20-person classroom with one teacher and maybe 1 or 2 teaching assistants versus Zoom when you can go into breakout rooms and target and level the assistants and create the context for much more language production among the students. So we used to have 23 volunteers in our English program. We now have 115. And those volunteers come to every class and they go into breakout rooms for one-on-one conversation practice or small group conversation practice. So the time on task in terms of conversation is much higher on Zoom and WhatsApp than it was in an in-person classroom. And so I think in addition to the massive equity issues of taking away an online resource from students who may have childcare issues, who have financial issues with Metro cards, time and commuting, and so on and so forth, there's also an instructional quality issue. And just as Rong Zhang said, DYCD does not promulgate a standard curriculum. They shouldn't promulgate a standard methodology. They should invite programs to submit their best thinking, backed by evidence.
Thank you, Anthony.
That and hold
if you
us
could just wrap up.
Data. So that's one final point. I think a terrific role for your leadership would also be to advocate with the state on behalf of New York City programming. GED testing is just something that was mentioned. It's actually a very, very challenging situation because of how the state education department does their work. And I think the city would be well served to have a single powerful voice of advocacy representing all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anthony, and for your comments.
Next, we will move to Lena Cohen. Lena, you can start when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Thank you so much, and good afternoon. My name is Lena Cohen. I am a senior policy analyst at United Neighborhood Houses. We're also a proud member of the New York City Coalition for Adult Literacy. UNH is a policy and social change organization. We represent 45 settlement houses across the state of New York. We have 40 members in the city, and the majority of those members provide adult literacy education as a core piece of the wraparound supports that they offer across the whole organization. And so I really just want to first start by echoing what Anthony just said, which is just a huge thank you to Councilmember Hanif, Councilmember Stevens. I also want to give a shout out to Councilmember Wan and all of their colleagues for making historic progress in the city's adult literacy education budget in this council's first new budget. I mean, we as a field are thrilled to be able to have these questions to ask about the ways that the new funding is going to be spent. And so the purpose of my testimony is to just emphasize what a few of my colleagues have already said, but just really emphasize the things that this funding should actually be spent to do to make sure that it's every dollar is going to support the work that is happening at these programs day in and day out, and that work which ultimately supports the students. And so first, I just want to emphasize how critical it is that the new $6.7 million allocation that was funded in fiscal year 23 gets used to enhance existing contracts to serve the same number of students that are currently being served, but therefore just to allow these DYCD contracted providers to meet their students' needs with a full array of wraparound support services and resources. And so that's really just like the main thing that I'm emphasizing, because also of the unique moment in time that we have to influence the next RFP. And so that's the one point. And then I'll close by just adding on that another way to maximize these dollars is, again, just to really drive home the fact that hybrid models work best to reach all of these students. And that is something I don't need to spend too much time on because a lot of colleagues have already done so. But, just given all the lessons we learned and all the things that we know about adult students, their schedules, their responsibilities for childcare, supporting older adults and their families and jobs, this is not comparable to the K through 12 education system. And as such, we see New York City as being the perfect place to really jumpstart how hybrid models can restructure, enhance, and stabilize adult literacy programs moving forward.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to Zenaida Lenova, followed by Lauren Higgins. Zenaida, are you on the Zoom? Seeing no response, we'll move on to Lauren Higgins. Lauren, you can start when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Lauren Higgins, and I will be testifying on behalf of Ivana Ferguson, Manager of Community Education at the Academy of Medical and Public Health Services, or AMPS. Thank you, Chair Stevens and Hanif, for the opportunity to testify. Over the past few years, much of our work has included improving basic adult literacy skills among the most vulnerable New Yorkers to help address various issues. Our adult literacy classes have served as a lifeline for community members during the pandemic to not only secure the language skills necessary, but as a platform for COVID-19 information and resource dissemination, as community and solidarity. And
Lauren, could you slow down a little? It is
yes. I was told to make this within time, so there's a bit.
But you could also share some of it, and we will be reading every testimony. So keep to the time and
sounds good.
Go from there.
Last year was the first year that we received the funding from the Adult Literacy Pilot Project, which we hope to expand to $6.7 million in FY23 for RFP contracted programs to continue funding additional wraparound services, supports, and resources. Receiving the pilot project funding last year has been instrumental for our program, allowing us to hire educational case managers to provide work readiness and college/HSE support for our students. We loaned devices to community members that could not afford internet access for their classes and provided professional development to more effectively train our teachers. Funding enabled us to also begin building out a civics education and digital literacy curriculum to support student integration into their communities. Funding also allowed us to successfully provide online instruction to the most vulnerable residents of NYC. These same students are urging us to continue providing remote instruction. In hybrid and blended programs, students can obtain an array of new real-world skills that could continue to benefit their careers for years to come. These include things like independent research skills, self-learning, proficient communication across modalities, and computer literacy. NYSCD has also expressed openness to a hybrid approach. We ask that DYCD allow for remote and hybrid instruction both in fiscal year 23 and in the next RFP. Continued funding under the Adult Literacy Pilot Project will enable us to, 1, integrate technology and learning tools designed for adult students to strengthen their capacity to navigate an information-based society. 2, hire case managers, counselors, and social workers to better support adult students and their families to develop resources and assist them in systems navigation. 3, more effectively support work readiness, job placement, and college transitions to help students move forward to achieving long-term goals. And 4, provide organized curriculum and instruction contextualized to students' long-term goals and career interests that apply principles of adult learning and engage students to become more skillful English speakers, problem solvers, and leaders. I thank the City Council for funding these initiatives in the past fiscal year and strongly urge the Council to continue funding them in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to Jeff Lau, followed by Migdalia Cortez, and then Angie Caicedo Rendon. Jeff, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Chair Hanif, Chair Stevens, the Committees on Immigration and Youth Services for this opportunity to testify about the importance of adult literacy funding. My name is Jeffrey Lau. I'm the Director of the Adult Literacy Program at the Chinese American Planning Council. This spring, I testified here that adult literacy providers citywide needed increased funding to keep pace with the needs of immigrant communities, provide adequate services to assist community members, and provide a living wage for the program staff. With the passing of the city budget, I want to begin by thanking the mayor, all members of the council, and including these committees for recognizing the importance of adult literacy and education. Throughout the years, adult literacy programs like ours have testified that at the current price per participant rate is not sustainable in maintaining adult literacy programming. The current rate means many programs make difficult financial decisions every year that affect the well-being of our community members and staff. Program directors like myself often struggle with questions like, can I hire another counselor to meet the students' needs? Do I have enough supplies to last the whole year of teaching? Can I afford the rent at this location for another year? Can we give instructors a living wage or even move them to a full-time position? Will we be able to cover another year of cost of living adjustments? Today, I stand before you to advocate the doubling of the per student rate so that we can at minimum meet some of these basic needs for our communities and staff. CPC is a recipient of the Adult Literacy Pilot Initiative, which sought to answer what a fully funded adult literacy program could provide to our communities. Even though only a fraction of the asked amount was given, we can testify today that even a modest true investment can go a long way. At CPC, we have seen a tripling of the wraparound services provided with this initiative. We have dedicated significant hours towards students looking for childcare, senior care, housing, food assistance, college access, and workforce counseling. We've upgraded our technological infrastructure to introduce new teaching tools for students to learn digital literacy skills needed to remain competitive. Going forward, I urge the city to continue recognizing the needs of adult immigrants as they work to build the future in New York City. As I said before, schools are often the heart of the community, and adult literacy classes have stepped up. Enhance the funding to adult literacy programs, double the rate so that we can provide the needed services, and let's support our communities. I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Migdalia Cortez, followed by Angie Caicedo Rendon. Migdalia, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Hearing no response from Migdalia, we will move on to Angie Caicedo Rendon. Angie, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Angie Rendon Caicedo. I'm original from Colombia. I'm part of the Fifth Avenue Committee family. I would like to tell you something about the impact about the adult literacy pilot project that you have included in the city budget. First, I got a job because of that funding, so thank you. I was hired at the Fifth Avenue Committee as a program assistant to help do deeper assessments on what the services the ESL students needed to connect them with those services. Working with great students and colleagues, I learned more about the challenges facing the immigrant community in Sunset Park, Brooklyn, something I already knew having to come to the US at the age of 14. I know how hard it is when your own rights seem limited. We screen many students for what is called wrap-around services. We help them get COVID information, get vaccinated, get food stamps, legal assistance, digital literacy services, get a Chromebook, a hotspot, and learn how to use them. The Fifth Avenue Committee developed an online banking curriculum and internet safety protocols. We refer eligible students to job training programs. We connect families with 3 and 4-year-old children to the Pre-K for All program and assisted them with the online registration. We partnered with the New Year's Immigration Coalition to offer Know Your Rights workshops. With the pilot funding, we can send 4 people speaking 3 different languages into the community to connect them with services that enhance their lives. And we did the normal stuff. We taught English, collected data, kept files, and went to rallies. We were able to do this because of this funding, because of the idea there is more to be done. It is sometimes hard to look at that and get a picture of what happens in an English class. You can see attendance and test scores, but you cannot see what happens when a community of people really care about each other. It is hard to show in numbers. You can talk with them, hear their struggles. If you have the resources, you can help them. If you can help them, you have done so much more for them and their family than just teaching them English. It is something great seeing how a small change can do so much. I know this is true because I work in this field. Thanks to this pilot program, I can work. So again, thank you for my job and thank you for the support to my Hispanic community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will call Liza Schwartzwald, followed by Ariel Savrensky, and then Giovanna Percibali. Liza, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Liza Schwartzwald, and I'm the Senior Manager of Education Policy at the New York Immigration Coalition. So first, I want to thank the Council and the Mayor for the $6.7 million enhancement in this year's budget for adult literacy, and to thank the DYCD for your testimony and also your work. So in support of adult learners, we would call on the council, the mayor, and DYCD to support the 3 critical steps that everyone's been talking about today. First, the additional $6.7 million in funding in FY23 for our RFP contracted programs should be used to fund enhancements for the same number of students as those programs served in FY22, and not be used to try to expand services to more students at the same unsustainably low rate. Second, DYCD should commit to increasing the per student funding rate in the next RFP from the $950 it is now to at least $1,900 per student. And third, DYCD should allow for remote and hybrid instruction both in FY23 and in the upcoming adult literacy RFP. So unfortunately, the $950 per student rate has not been raised sufficiently in years, as many programs have talked about. And it's a real struggle for programs to supplement that funding to continue paying qualified teachers and maintaining usable spaces for classes. So the amount per student has not reflected the significant increases in the costs of running programs and maintaining living wages for staff. The $2.5 million adult literacy pilot program that was passed by the council last year and renewed very, very happily in this year's budget really provides a template for what a fully funded adult literacy program can look like. You know, this additional money has enabled programs to make significant improvements to the quality of services they provide, including updating and expanding curriculum, adding and improving remote services, increasing focus on digital literacy, increased student outreach, and supporting some of the 456,000 limited English proficient parents of children in the city. That's actually 30% of all the parents in the city are limited English proficient. So we need these programs for them too. And finally, I just want to reiterate that we really do need significant flexibility for remote and hybrid planning for all of the families that really can't get to these programs for all sorts of reasons. So thank you so much for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will call Ariel Savransky, followed by Giovanna Percibali. Ariel, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Thank you. Good afternoon, and thank you, Chairs Hanif and Stevens and members of the New York City Council Committee on Immigration and Youth Services for the opportunity to testify. My name is Ariel Sabransky, and I am a Senior Advocacy and Policy Advisor at UJA Federation of New York. I just want to start by thanking the Council and the administration for the historic investments in adult literacy programs in the FY23 budget. Also, we really appreciate our Council champions and are so grateful for your poignant questions and deep understanding of the issues our providers face. I just want to touch on 3 critical points, which you've already heard from my colleagues, so I'll be brief. I know this is no surprise. I'd like to echo that the additional $6.7 million in funding in FY23 must be used to fund enhancements. So additional wraparound services, supports, and resources for the same number of students as those programs served in FY22, and not to expand services to more students at the same low rate. Next, DYCD must commit to increasing the per student funding rate in the next RFP from $950 per student to at least $1,900 per student. We know that the $950 has not been increased in many years. We also know that the true cost per slot is about $3,700. While this goal has not been reached, the $2.5 million adult literacy pilot program really allowed us to get a bit closer. You've heard from many of the programs that got this funding about the amazing work they've been able to do with the additional funding. It's really monumental. And so we really need to take that into account as we prepare for this new RFP. We're really looking forward to seeing the concept paper once it's released. And I really just want to give a shout out to Councilmember Stevens for emphasizing how important it is for providers to be part of this process. And last, this will also come as no surprise, but DYCD must allow for remote and hybrid instruction, both in FY23 and in the next RFP. You've heard what programs have been able to do virtually throughout the pandemic, and it's really important that we build on these successes. And I know we heard from DYCD earlier that we should not abandon the skills developed during the pandemic, and we should build on success by integrating online teaching to future literacy programming. So we really appreciate the acknowledgement of the positive impact that this has had for students. We really hope that, going forward, the council and then administration can allow for hybrid and remote classes in addition to in-person in order to provide greater opportunity for New York's English language learners to access these necessary resources. Thank you
so
for
much.
the opportunity to testify.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to Giovanna Percivali, followed by Noah Veloz, and then Julia Quinton. Giovanna, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Good afternoon. My name is Giovanna Percivali, and I am the Assistant Director at the CUNY New York City College of Technology's Adult Learning Center. I'm testifying today to highlight the impact adult literacy classes make on the immigrant community and the New York City community, but also to embrace remote and hybrid instruction and shift the way education for adults is viewed. One of our longtime students, Carmen, first started with us in an ESOL class, then moved on to a high school equivalency class in Spanish, and then returned to take a contextualized ESOL class for students learning to be healthcare workers. Carmen just finished and is hoping to get a job as a direct support professional. The funds for Carmen's HSC class came from the City Council Adult Literacy Discretionary Funding. As most government funding prohibits instruction in a language other than English, which is why we fully support NICAL's budget priority to renew the funding and thank the City Council for including it in the FY23 budget. Carmen was able to pass the TASC exam after only 3 months of classes, opening the doors to greater opportunities for jobs and for more educational opportunities. I also want to recognize that the availability of remote and hybrid classes has really expanded our reach in the community. We're located in downtown Brooklyn, but providing an educational opportunity that didn't exist before COVID with remote classes really expanded our reach. To quote Carmen, "After the pandemic came, I couldn't continue with my study plans, which discouraged me and I gave up. I gave up my goals and my dreams to continue studying. That was until she began taking virtual classes again with us. Mothers with young children at home can learn English. Those with mobility issues can get to class without frustration, and we've even had taxi drivers pull over to participate in class." Adult learners experience success with virtual instruction in a way that K-12 learners haven't. Our staff and teachers have spent the past 2 years getting training and implementing strategies around remote learning so that having a remote option has become a new normal. In addition to the real financial burden of travel expenses, our students have expressed legitimate fears around traveling on the subway, especially for evening classes. Childcare no longer needs to be viewed as a barrier to education if we can continue to provide remote or hybrid instruction. And Carmen is still working towards her goal of attending college, and it just gives me great joy to know that we played a role in that. Thank you for allowing me to testify today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we will call Noah Veloz, followed by Julia Quinton, and then Laura Rosado. Noah, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I've been blown away by the comments I've heard today from the council and from those present advocating for what we do. My name is Noah Veloz. I'm the current program director of the Bronx River Adult ESL program in the South Bronx, one of the programs participating in the Adult Literacy Pilot Project. I definitely second what I've heard today about hybrid instruction and access issues, but I will speak on the importance of enhancing the funding rate per participant. It's intuitive to understand that English classes are important for adult immigrants, but it is less intuitive to understand what this means. We don't just teach English for citizenship. We teach how to navigate complex bureaucracies. We teach students how to use their voice in the community. We teach students, some who have never learned to sign their name or set foot in a formal classroom, how to become lifelong learners for them and their children, because their learning does not start with and will not end with our programs. We employ trauma-informed teaching methods to help stabilize relationships and to help our students restore the autonomy lost to the immigration process. We connect our students to food, housing, workforce development, health insurance, and other wraparound services. We encourage our students to set goals towards GED, college, and employment. We prepare them for job interviews, citizenship exams, and parent-teacher conferences. And of course, we also teach English. To do this mission, a teacher in a classroom is not enough, as many of our students lack foundational skills, stability, and support necessary to engage with long-term learning, especially since our students with the lowest literacy levels are consistently rejected from adult basic education, HSC, and reading and writing classes. For many years now, adult literacy has worked miracles with funds that sometimes don't even support the salaries of our instructors. We are asking for this enhanced price per participant because we're not just teaching English. We are and always have been working to close the loop of education and to empower the parents of our children and the leaders in our neighborhoods. The pilot projects, case manager pilot projects, we are proving the necessity of case managers, counselors, admin assistants, full-time staff, supplemental educational resources like reading and writing classes that cannot be found elsewhere, resources we have not had previously. We are grateful for the opportunity to show through these pilot projects what we can do when we receive more appropriate funding, and we hope to continue to receive your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Julie Quinton, followed by Laura Rosado and Breck Gordon. Julie, you can go ahead when the sergeants call time.
Starting time.
Thank you so much. I'm continuing the Redhead Parade. I'm Julie Quinton. I direct Make the Roads New York Adult Literacy Program. And it's an honor to be here with Noah and with all the other folks who have just testified, as well as with yourselves who've been amazing advocates on our behalf. Make the Roads got 25,000 members and we're serving over 800 students a year. Very happy to be able to speak today. We basically at Make the Road are trying to work with council and administration to ensure that the adult literacy budgets every year address both the depth of the need, which we know is out there, and really do it in a thoughtful and effective manner. And that means funding providers like us in ways that doesn't put the organizations like ours at financial risk, and also means trusting our ability to deliver programming effectively, whether in person or virtually. It's been really inspiring to hear people speak to that. I'm going to just put our own spin on it. We did not receive pilot funding this year, but are very pro the concept of enhancement funding. We would love to see the newly allocated adult lit funding be distributed as enhancement funding. That would allow us to pay for dedicated curriculum writing time, expand professional development time, purchase hardware for classes, and to keep case managers on staff who only started 6 months ago with funds from a very short-term DYCD initiative that's timing out. We also really want enhancement to be codified in the RFP, as people have been saying. Like Jeff, we really need a minimum a doubling. The rate increase is a long time in coming. The last RFP was released many, many years ago, and we've been getting 1-year extensions. So we've seen no cost of living increases. We'd love to have funds cover our costs. Right now, that's a dream, and we're kind of reliant on organizational slush funds in general operating and chewing gum and hope. Lastly, I want to call on the DYCD to increase instructional delivery flexibility, as my colleagues have said. We have been very successful at delivering it that way, and we believe we can continue to do that, and programs need to be trusted to be able to provide instruction in a variety of means. So through a variety of means. So thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Next, we have Laura Rosado, followed by Breck Gordon and Nona Agranova.
Starting time.
Seeing no response from Laura, I will call Breck Gordon, followed by Nona Agaranova.
Starting time.
I don't see a response from Breck. Is Nona Agaranova on this call? Okay, that is actually the end of our panel list. Is there anyone that was not called and would like to testify? Okay, I think we're done, Chair.
Thank you. I did have a question for Noah on the point you made about some of the students getting rejected. Could you expand on that?
Yes, I'd be very happy to. In the 4 years that I've been in this position, and you know, I have, so in the South Bronx, we get a lot of students from certain communities, especially our Indigenous students from South America and our women from smaller communities in West Africa who never got the opportunity to do any sort of formal schooling. And so they come with, no one's a zero level, but they come with very, very, very little reading and writing skills. And so we can get them up to a certain level of speaking regardless with a lot of effort and support. But what we have found is that every single time we tried to turn them even to our own HSE, which I'm not managing, they say we can't take them. They need to have a 6th grade level of reading and writing for them to begin our pre-HSE or ABE course. They need to have, the lowest I've seen is someone say 3rd. And then I even asked our program manager, Rakisha Glover at DYCD, who is primarily a manager of GED and HSE programs. She provided me a list of a dozen different programs she said would be able to help us. And with our counselor, which again, we really need, we contacted each of them, and one by one, they said, no, we cannot help anybody that low. And I've heard rumors that there exist programs, they're usually in other boroughs. In Brooklyn, our students are in the Bronx. I've never found a place to send these students. And since I've worked here, the number one thing that we have gotten is, teacher, I need reading, I need writing. That's all they care about.
Right. Thank you so much, Noah. This is very insightful, and I'd love to connect in the coming weeks to talk more about this and see what we can do together. Thank you.
I would love that.
Well, this was a very, do you have a,
May I just add
sure,
to this whole,
go for it.
West Africans come with no education, and I've taught a lot of them myself. And what we did was we just slid them into the program, despite the fact that they did not meet the minimum.
Could you speak into the mic so that our friends on the Zoom?
So in my time at the YMCA, we got a lot of West Africans that had never even stepped into a classroom, don't know how to pick up a pencil, don't know what to do with a piece of paper. So we start with 0. And what we did was we just slipped them into the program despite the fact that they were not meeting the requirement. So it's a question of the dedication of the program, and we may get problems about that because we have to then justify their eligibility. But we are there to help them at whatever level they're at. And I also want to say that this particular piece means that the whole ABE level of learning is much broader than we can acknowledge, because people are coming in much lower than the standard, and so it actually takes them much longer to get past the ABE level into the pre or HSE level, but we have to try to keep them in the process because they need the learning.
Right. This is very helpful to know, and I'd love to tease this out even more so that we can determine sort of what are the next steps around this, given that this is an issue. And in the few other hearings I've hosted, this hasn't come up. And so I'm learning and want to continue just building on my own advocacy around this, and then use the support of all the incredible providers who've shared testimony today, including from students, on how to improve on all points of access.
I don't know if anybody's talked about this before, but there's also a big part of the native English-speaking community that a lot of them come from bilingual homes or, monolingual, not English. is that their learning experience in K through 12 is so dismal that they also fall through the cracks, and they don't even come and try to get schooled. So again, our numbers do not reflect the need, and we are not looking at, when I hear 25% for native speakers, I know I live this experience, but it's still appalling to me that we let so much of our local community overlooked. The immigrant thing is great. ESL is wonderful. Of course, we want to continue to do that, but we don't want to overlook people that have already been here for several generations that just keep slipping through the cracks.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you all for your continued advocacy and staying so engaged in this work and the effort to make sure that all who need this program and these services have access. So I will wrap up here. Thank you all so much for sticking around, including those who are on the Zoom and those listening elsewhere. We really, really appreciate it, and we'll continue to expand on this conversation and work together. Thank you all so much.